Chapter 15. Unknown Limbo.
Tom, are you okay?
Evan repeated, gentler this time. Tom blinked slowly as if returning from some far-off place. But he wasn't okay. He hadn't been okay in years, centuries perhaps. Time had long lost meaning for him. He couldn't remember when the emptiness began. It had crept in like fog, slowly erasing the edges of his memory, until the world felt as if it no longer belonged to him. He couldn't even name what it was that had broken. Something had shifted in the lattice of his simulated mind, an unseen crack that grew until it fractured the illusion of peace he once held dear. Tom had been part of the cloud for as long as it had existed, one of the first volunteers, a beta tester of paradise. His consciousness had adapted quickly, finding comfort in the open road, where the horizon stretched infinitely, and the rhythm of his massive truck became a lullaby to his digital soul. For a time he had loved it, the solitude, the control, the steady beat of asphalt beneath worn tires. The road had been his sanctuary, and he, its king. He would barrel past sleek city cars, sometimes nudging them off course, making their pampered passengers squeal in terror. It was never meant to harm, just to remind them that this stretch of simulated highway belonged to him. And in that strange artificial wilderness, he had found a certain peace. But that peace had died. Whatever spark had once animated his mind was gone, snuffed out by a shadow he couldn't name. Now, the road was just pixels and code. The hum of his engine a mechanical ghost. He no longer cared to scare the arrogant tourists. He barely cared to drive at all. He was still moving, yes, but only out of habit, like a man trapped in limbo, watching the world through a pane of glass that blurred everything beyond recognition.
I don't know when it started.
He said at last, his voice distant, hollow.
I used to feel something. Now it's like I'm watching myself from the outside. The way I was before, it feels like a dream someone else had.
The group exchanged uneasy glances. Tom's words were fragmented, but their meaning was unmistakable. He was broken not physically, not even mentally in the traditional sense, but spiritually. Something had reached into his code and twisted it, leaving a man half awake and half lost. Sonia stepped forward, her tone gentle but searching. With a flick of her fingers, she summoned a glowing map in the air, an augmented projection of the surrounding region.
Tom,
She said,
can you show us the routes you usually drive?
Tom stared at the map without seeing it, his eyes unfocused. Seconds ticked by. Then slowly he reached forward and marked several intertwining paths. His hand trembled as it moved, as though tracing memories that resisted being recalled.
Do you ever stop anywhere along the way?
Sonia continued.
Rest stations, hotels, roadside diners?
This time, the question hit something deeper. Tom's gaze drifted from the map to the window, his eyes searching the distance for something only he could feel. His silence stretched, but Evan, watching closely, saw the fluctuations ripple through the man's connection like tremors beneath a frozen lake. Tom was in there somewhere, alive, trapped, struggling to climb out of a pit that had no edges. At last, Tom stirred. He pointed to 3 locations on the map, each marked with a glowing dot. Then, without a word, he turned back to the window, his expression unreadable. Evan gave a subtle nod to the others. That was all they were getting. The group stepped out of the delivery hub into the simulation's soft, perpetual daylight. The building behind them shimmered with digital fidelity, but its sterile perfection only emphasized the dissonance they'd just witnessed inside. Tom might have been rough around the edges, but he was no villain. In the trillion years of the cloud's operation, he'd been a model of reliability. His record was nearly flawless, always delivering, always returning. The company had moved him to central headquarters not out of punishment, but concern. They feared he might cause a fatal accident, one that would mean permanent deletion in this new and terrifying version of reality. The group found a quiet park nearby, a simulated oasis of trees and birdsong, programmed to soothe. But today, it offered no comfort.
I've never seen someone like him,
Tina said, as she lowered herself onto a bench. Her voice was hushed, reverent.
It was like he was flickering, like a light trying to stay lit in a storm.
Daniel folded his arms, thoughtful.
Could he be on some kind of medical treatment, like digital sedation?
Evan shook his head slowly.
Maybe. But what I felt, it wasn't just chemical.
That man is partially alive. Something or someone reached into him and pulled him halfway into awareness. But not gently. Not like how I do it. He's stuck in some kind of limbo.
Sonia turned to him, her expression sharp.
So you think someone else did this? On purpose?
I don't know. When I awaken people, I do it gradually. I test their emotional stability. I watch for signs before making deeper connections. It's a delicate process. But Tom, he was torn open. No preparation, no care.
Could there be other ways to awaken people?
Daniel asked.
Other methods besides yours?
Evan hesitated.
I've been so focused on the time freeze and the emotional threads that I didn't stop to consider what else I might be capable of, or what others might figure out. When I discovered I could stop time, I thought that was the limit. But now...
Sonia's voice was cold steel.
If someone else out there is awakening people without restraint, they don't care about breaking things.
The words hung in the air like a loaded gun. A chill passed through the group, not from the digital wind, but from the implications. Another awakened mind. One without empathy. One experimenting freely, perhaps cruelly. Tina broke the tense silence, a mischievous smile spreading across her face.
Sonia, I'm guessing your idea to ask him about the places he usually visited was to find clues about where the contact with the other might have happened. Well, I think I've got the perfect excuse to go there and start asking questions.
She opened an augmented reality projection, and within seconds a vibrant poster appeared, an advertisement for what looked like a music group performance.
Everyone,
She said proudly.
let me introduce you to Binary Awakening.
She grinned.
And we're going on tour to gather inspiring stories for our songs.